Welcome to Risky Business. As you may know, I like to get feisty every once in a while and take on a controversial topic. And I have a bone to pick with the whole entire gaming community.
What's your problem?
The sky is falling, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. NFTs have begun to make their way into our beloved hobby. And as we all know, NFTs are bad. Right?
What you talking about, Willis?
EA CEO Andrew Wilson even called NFTs the future of gaming. Square Enix recently announced a line of digital collectibles that will include NFTs. Before you watch the rest of this video, do me a favor, pause me and head down to the comment section and answer this question. What is an NFT?
Huh? I don't know that.
Once you've done that, please resume the video. If you're like most people that I've encountered on social media, you probably didn't answer that question correctly, and that's a big problem. Because we're all so angry or scared about this thing. And most of us can't even answer a simple question about what it is. We know that some celebrities have paid obscene amounts of money for them, and we know that the crypto bros all think they're going to make millions off of these things. We've heard they're all scams, but where did you hear that from? Was it from someone who also couldn't tell you what an NFT is?
It's an awesome tool. I don't know if you guys know about it, but basically, you make someone think the opposite of what you believe, and that tricks them into doing something stupid.
I had someone say to me, oh, they're scams because they're used for money laundering. Real estate's used for money laundering. Is real estate a scam? NFTs are not inherently bad. It's just that they've typically been used for something pretty stupid up until now. I'll get into more detail about that later in the video, but for now, what if I told you that this pretty new technology may have practical uses that would actually benefit us as gamers? Please hear me out before you start leaving those spicy comments down there, because I think we're all overreacting just a tiny bit. But I got another question for you. When you go to the store and you buy something, do you get mad when the cashier hands you a receipt? Do you accuse him of scamming you by giving you a receipt? Of course not, because that would be ridiculous. But that's what an NFT is. It's a receipt. It's not just a receipt, it's a tamper-proof receipt that can't be deleted, can't be lost, can't be changed. More importantly, it tracks every transaction, so there's absolutely no question who owns the digital asset that it's connected to. One of the bigger concerns that I've heard about NFTs is that they're connected to cryptocurrency. In most cases, they're connected to a specific cryptocurrency called Ethereum. And a common concern about cryptocurrency is that it's not backed by anything tangible. But did you know that any given cryptocurrency has a hard limit of how much can ever exist and that it cannot be counterfeited? Cryptocurrency was created as an answer to fiat currency like the US dollar. And while cryptocurrencies are backed by their respective blockchain, fiat currency is backed by, are you ready? Confidence in the government. The gold standard is basically a thing of the past, and at least here in the US today, the government just keeps on minting more and more money. It's not backed by anything. Like 80% of all the currency in circulation right now was printed within the last 2 years. Does that really sound like that's more solvent than something that's blocked by a completely tamper-proof record of every transaction that's ever been made? Really think about that for a minute. Another really common concern about it is the negative impact on the environment. And look, I totally get that. We're screwing up this planet pretty badly. So yeah, if there's a kind of currency that's causing an environmental problem, that needs to be addressed. But what a lot of people don't know is that it is being addressed. It's being addressed because Ethereum, the cryptocurrency blockchain that most NFTs are tied to. And when I say most, I mean like 99%, maybe more of all NFTs are tied to Ethereum. They're using what's called a proof of work system. And that's incredibly energy intensive. A proof of work system for every transaction on the blockchain, anytime someone buys or sells an NFT or buys or sells Ethereum, it takes about as much energy as running like a normal household for 9 days. And that's insane. But what you might not know is that Ethereum is currently in the process of merging with another blockchain. And when they complete that merge sometime later in 2022, by the end of 2022 it will have been complete, they will be using a proof of stake system. And the proof of stake system uses 99.95% less energy than the proof of work system. So that issue, and yes, it is an important issue, is being addressed. So why do NFTs use a blockchain? Because a blockchain is a tamper-proof record of every transaction that's tied to that thing, whatever it might happen to be. Okay, so obviously most of us aren't going to spend thousands of dollars so we can brag that we own an original piece of digital art. This is obviously a ridiculous hobby for people who have too much money and not enough brains, obviously. And I'm not saying that we should have in our video games, buy a picture of a character for $100. That's stupid. That would be ridiculous. So what does this have to do then with video games, and why am I telling you to calm down about the NFTs in video games? It gives publishers a way to market in-game assets to gamers in a similar way to how digital artists market their artwork to collectors. So instead of having additional things in our games that they're going to try to sell to us, they can sell us things they're already selling to us and just have a way of identifying who owns them. Does that really sound like such a terrible thing? And yes, the publishers of these games are going to benefit from that arrangement because they're going to make money off of those things being on a blockchain. As that blockchain grows, as that cryptocurrency becomes more valuable, the assets that they own and sell to players are going to become more valuable, and they're going to make out on it. They're going to make money. Additionally, entire games can be built using digital asset-powered economies, in which players can claim ownership of in-game assets and trade them. I think a really good analogy for this is trading cards. The more scarce and in demand an in-game asset is, the higher its value will be. If you look at the game Gods Unchained, it's very literally a trading card game in which the cards all are tied to NFTs. Every single card in the game has an NFT accompanying it, and when you sell or trade a card to another player, they purchase that NFT. There actually are quite a few NFT games already out there, but the genre is kind of a niche right now. There's a game called Axie Infinity. It's a monster collecting game in which the monsters themselves are tied to NFTs. And a lot of the other in-game items and assets are also tied to NFTs. Axie Infinity is really popular in the Philippines, where gamers are making a living playing this game. It's a play-to-earn type of a game. So we have a developing country where they're playing a game that has NFTs in it, and people are paying their bills on this. No one's becoming a millionaire, and I'm not going to claim that's going to happen for anybody when the NFTs are in the video games. But it's sustaining the economy of a developing nation, and that's probably a good thing, right? There's even a licensed Walking Dead game called Walking Dead Empires that's totally built around NFTs, and that's still active. You can play it right now. So now what happens when NFTs are handled poorly in a game? Well, then you have a case like Ubisoft's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It had a small player base to begin with, and Ubisoft did a really dumb thing where they were giving away the in-game assets for free. So that experiment proved to be a massive failure. They did everything wrong they possibly could. And that's going to come to my point and conclusion in this video where I'm going to talk about why it's in the best interests of these publishers to handle this in a way that is beneficial to the player base. So should we really be worried about NFTs making their way into our mainstream games? And my takeaway on that is that it really depends on how the publishers decide to use them. I can swing a baseball bat. I could swing it to hit a ball, or I could swing it to hit a person. But that doesn't mean a baseball bat is inherently a bad thing. Just like that, an NFT can be used to make in-game items transferable between players. But I think there's even better use cases than that. Think about a trading card game, like Hearthstone, or even like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, but of course the digital version, right? Where your cards are tied to NFTs. So you actually can trade them with other players, instead of now where you have to like dust them or whatever, and dust 8,000 cards to get the one card you were looking for. You can actually trade them with other players. And because there's a system that would allow you to track who owns what, the publisher would be okay with that. And plus, the publisher gets a little piece of every one of those trades. Everybody wins. Now, even better than that, imagine this. The license key of every digital game is tied to an NFT. So if you buy a digital game on Steam or on PlayStation Plus or on Xbox Live or whatever, there's an NFT tied to that authentication key. You can now resell your digital games. The publisher gets a piece, you get paid, someone else gets to play the game, and they get to pay less for it than you paid for it. Everybody wins again. So if done correctly, NFTs would not add another intrusive monetization method to our games. Instead, they could be used to improve or enhance the monetization methods that currently exist, as well as the transfer or sale of the software itself. So should we be worried about publishers using NFTs the wrong way? I think initially there might be some growing pains while publishers kind of figure out what they're supposed to do, but I'm not really super worried about it, and here's why. The first reason is, in order to build a game around NFTs, an active online community is an absolute necessity. It needs players who will log in every day to trade their assets. With the majority of gamers rejecting the idea of NFTs being involved in their games outright, it seems very unlikely that there's ever going to be communities large enough to facilitate this practice in a mainstream franchise. I just don't see it happening. In the case that a game is not built around NFTs but includes them as optional premium items, gamers have the option of simply not purchasing them. And those who do not want to participate can leave it for those who do. Ultimately, it's unlikely to have any impact on the gameplay experience if you choose not to participate. I've played countless games that have had microtransactions and never bought a single thing. If I played a game that had NFT microtransactions and nothing on that marketplace interested me, I just wouldn't buy any of it. So I think the best way to implement NFTs in video games is in a way that the player never has to really think about it. If it's under the hood, then it doesn't really matter. Like, if you play a game where every thing that you buy in the game has an NFT tied to it, but you never see it or aren't involved, does it really matter to you? The bottom line, though, is that cryptocurrencies and NFTs, they're not going anywhere. But trading in them will continue to be a niche among enthusiastic investors who don't mind taking big risks, and they are big risks. But in the world of video games, I think the NFT genre is going to be just a small community, and it's going to be the most popular in developing countries, like in the Philippines with Axie Infinity. So what do you think? Sound off in the comments, and hey, do me a favor, come back to this video in a year, 2 years, 5 years, and tell me, was I right about NFTs, or did all the people out there who never even bothered to Google what is an NFT, were they right all along? In my experience, not knowing about a thing is generally worse than knowing about a thing. So I want to thank you very much for watching. I hope you've learned something useful here. Obviously, there's plenty of room for discussion and debate on this topic. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Please like the video, please give me a subscribe, enable notifications. I have some more links down there in the description. There's a podcast I work on with a good friend of mine, Jared. That's coming along really nicely. We only have a few episodes so far, but I would love if you would check that out. You can hear more from me and from Jared as well. And then I have a Patreon down there if you want to throw me a few bucks so I can make better videos. And of course, links to some of my other content that you may find interesting if you enjoyed this. On this channel, I discuss controversial topics, but I also discuss retro gaming and some topics in modern gaming as well. Thank you very much, and until next time, game over.